All right, let's talk Los Angeles Chargers. This is an up and coming team, undeniably so. They don't get a lot of hype, they don't get a lot of attention, but they are trending in the right direction, led, of course, by Harbaugh, the head coach, Herbert, the quarterback. But there's another young player, another new addition that's impressing the coaching staff, carving a role for himself. This looks like the Chargers pulled off a massive get here. We'll get into the latest report and some interesting data in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Los Angeles Chargers, both last year and this year, did a good job through the offseason, good job through the draft, adding a lot of key pieces. But there's one non drafted element, an undrafted free agent who is emerging for the Chargers in training camp as a massive steal. And don't take my word for it. Let's listen to Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. Let's pull up this report here, Miles, if you don't mind, courtesy of Chargers.com. Nico Reed, who had a pick six on Thursday, has now flashed in almost all of the Bolts' 10 practices so far in camp. I would say consistency is probably the most impressive, Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter said Monday after practice. The old adage is make a play a day and people will start to know who you are, especially if you're undrafted. It's like, how do you get people in the building, organization to really remember who that guy is? You make a play every day, Minter continued. That kind of stands out. Everybody's talking about you, whether it's the veteran players, everybody that's involved in the decision. I think he's doing a great job, consistent, competitive. Love where his head is at. Love where he's at, Minter said. Excited to see him play real football on Thursday. And that's right, the Hall of Fame game is Thursday evening. So football in obviously a different kind of form preseason will return in some capacity, which is obviously a good sign for all of us waiting for it. But when it comes to the Chargers and Nico Reed, this has a chance to be one of the steals of the offseason because it happens every year across the National Football League. There are undrafted free agents, seventh round, sixth round picks, those kind of players, completely forgotten, not given any attention whatsoever, but come out of nowhere and just start dominating. Like no one can handle these guys. One of the more famous examples about 15 years ago or so was wide receiver to the New York Giants, Victor Cruz. Went undrafted. No one really thought anything of it. Was sort of supposed to be a camp body and then became a superstar in camp. No, everyone was like, who is this guy? It looks like Reed is following that same track. Let's go ahead and look at his 2024 data against his 2025 draft class peers, though, and you can see exactly why. One of the reasons he's doing so well is that he was actually a really good player in college. Let's pull up the graphic if you don't mind. And we compared him against Will Johnson, a second round corner, Noah Williams, a third round corner, and Jonathan Baldwin, a fellow undrafted free agent who was rated really highly and given a good signing bonus when he signed after the draft. So the three categories we looked at here were overall grade. This is all according to PFF. Tackling grade and coverage grade overall in blue, tackling in red, coverage in gold. And you can see working left to right, Johnson, Williams, Baldwin, and Reed, excuse me. And you can see Reed is better in pretty much all three of those categories than everybody, right? You can see that Williams and Baldwin and really Johnson too, in terms of overall, they're close, but Reed, slight edge. How about tackling? Reed, better than all these guys, significantly better than Johnson, significantly better than Baldwin, a little bit better than Williams. And of course, coverage there, he's basically exactly the same as Williams, a little bit better than Johnson, and a little bit better than Jonathan Baldwin as well. So no matter what metric you want to use, according to the analytics, according to PFF, Nico Reed has the better coverage grade, better overall grade, and better tackling grade than all of his three peers here that we brought together. Now, we're not saying that he's better than Will Johnson or will be better than Noel Williams or anything like that. We're just saying based on raw analytics, this guy was a really good football player his senior year in college and could provide a lot of value. The reasons he fell out of the draft were obviously not related to his performance on the field in terms of productivity, in terms of overall performance. It had to do with other factors, athleticism, things like that, some concerns about certain skill sets. But he has answered that with a lot of high, big plays, a lot of high performances so far through training camp. And one of the reasons I think Coach Minter is so high on this young Chargers rookie is what he can provide in terms of what the Chargers are looking for any defensive player, and certainly in defensive backfield. Let's go into one of my favorite graphics here. Let's pull this up if you don't mind, Miles. So this is 2024, the best defending YAC AFC playoff teams, yards after catch. You can see there the Chargers are at the top. They gave up fewer YAC yards compared to all the other playoff teams by a big margin. You can see the Ravens, Steelers, Texans, Broncos, Chiefs, and Bills are all kind of grouped pretty close together, between 1,950 and 20 and 50, roughly, right? Really, really bundled close together. The Chargers gave up only 1,700 receiving yards after catch. That is a priority for Harbaugh and Minter. They're looking for guys. They want guys. They need guys that are really good at tackling, really good at getting receivers on the ground. They're almost okay with completions as long as you make the play, limit those big plays, get these receivers on the ground, get the play over, get to the next snap. That's exactly what the Chargers did well last season, and that's what they're looking for going forward. And that's exactly what they're going to get with Nico Reed. Again, a phenomenal tackler, like we showed in the previous chart. So when it comes to this young corner, we're looking at a guy who, again, really good player in college, didn't get a lot of credit, but he was a really nice player based on the analytics, and he's a great fit as well in terms of his tackling at the corner position is what the Chargers need, what Jesse Minter is looking for, and he is impressing the entire organization with his playmaking ability, making a play a day. When it comes to finding a big steal, I tell you what, guys, this is what you're looking for. Great job by the Chargers, and give credit to Nico Reed. Phenomenal work here across the board. All right, Miles, I know you've got a few thoughts on this, but first, Chargers fans, in the comment section below, look, like I said, Hall of Fame game. Football is kind of back in a few days. Let me ask you this question here. Which Charger are you looking forward to seeing the most this Thursday evening? I mean, you could go rookie, young guy, you could go a veteran that's competing for a roster spot, whatever it may be. Give us one Charger you're really excited to see more than any other this Thursday, even though it's just a Hall of Fame game. Let us know in the comment section below. And while you're down there, make sure you go to our description box and sign up for our weekly newsletter, courtesy of the Substack platform. There's a link to it in the description box below. 100% free. It's just extra content, extra articles, extra information we specifically curate for you guys. So make sure you sign up for it. Big help to us. We really appreciate it. But Mize, enough from me. Over to you now. What are your thoughts on this latest out of LA?
Yeah, Nick, I think Nico Reed, for me, he checks a lot of boxes here as far as what we like to see out of undrafted free agents. There's kind of a couple of things that we look for, a few categories that you can look at to see, is a guy going to make it? Is he good? Does he, stack up? What are those categories? Obviously, freakish size or athleticism, that's one of them. Obviously, Nico Reed doesn't have that. Other things, high production. He did great in college his last year. He did really good senior year. So that's something he does have. Maturity. Are they able to transfer? Are they going to move schools and do well in that aspect? And he did that. Left Colorado after being there for 2 years and moved over to Oregon. So again, another good option right there. I think there's a few things to like about what Nico Reed did. And specifically, I'm going to touch on that transfer part. We love guys who transfer and not only transfer, but do better after they transfer. You look at Nico Reed, a guy played at Colorado, left there, went to an arguably much tougher, conference of football with the Oregon Ducks, playing championship caliber teams. He's in that kind of culture, and he excelled. He went to back 50 overall PFF grades at Colorado, to his first year at Oregon, having a 74.3 overall defensive grade, then to an 80.5 overall defensive grade. So when the metal hit the road, when he really had to, kind of just put it all back against the wall, am I going to be able to do good things at Oregon? He absolutely did. He excelled and did really great. So I love that from him. We love to see corners who can run defend. Nico Reed has been a pretty good run defender his whole career, had high 60 plus grades every single year, except when he exploded onto the scene in 2024 and had that 89.9 run defense grade. So a corner can play the run. That's really great, a good added bonus. He had a great tackling grade last year as well, 82.6. So all things that we like out of corners, all things we like. Nico Reed checks a lot of boxes. Then I think on top of that, we like to see performances against guys in the NFL, and that's what we're starting to see now. Okay, we checked all these boxes. We saw all of this good data. Nico Reed can do these things, but now will he do these things against NFL players? Yes, he's doing it in practice, and I love they're saying every single day he is making plays. He's consistently being good. It's not just a splash play here, then we don't hear from him a week. It seems like every single day this guy is showing that he can play with the big dogs. So Nico Reed, I think it's going to be a big steal for the Chargers. I think this is a guy that's going to be lobbying for some playing time with the performances he's put up. And for Minter to say that much, he talked for quite a while about an undrafted free agent. It shows that this guy really is impressing in practice. This is a guy I am excited to keep my eye on through the rest of training camp.
And you brought up something really important. You talk about improvement. And when you have an undersized guy like Reed, you have to survive a lot of times, big time football, big time college football, by being smart. And one of the things I really like to sort of correlate intelligence is improvement, right? If you are a smart player, if you have a high IQ player, theoretically, the more reps you get, the more plays you play, the more you see different, offenses, formations, players, situations, you learn how to handle it better and you become a better and better player. And that's exactly what we saw with Reed. You highlighted the fact that his PFF grade jumped from his departure from Colorado to Oregon, and then jumped even more his senior season. And now he has jumped again by making a lot of plays for the Chargers in training camp. So we're talking about a guy that hasn't reached his ceiling yet. He's just getting better and better. And that's got to have Minter and the rest of the Chargers coaching staff incredibly excited. But when you talk about steals and what makes up a steal, one of the old cliches, and it's such a cliche, but it is true. We see guys that are really good football players, but they're undersized, right? Like, oh, they're too small, they can't make it, and they end up proving everybody wrong. What's so interesting is if you go to Nico Reed's NFL.com draft profile and literally lead the biggest and first weakness, according to the profile, they say below average height, weight, and length. Right. So again, the biggest weakness, the biggest knock on Nico Reed is that he is undersized. He's too short, he's too thin, and he's not long enough. Right. And again, we've seen this all the time. It's a cliche as old as football itself. Guys that are undersized are too small, too slow, too thin, whatever it may be. They prove the doubters wrong and go on to great NFL careers. Nico Reed is following in that footsteps. Granted, it's early. I understand we've been through 10 plus practices of camp. A lot of things could happen. A lot of things could go a bunch of different ways, but it's clear right now based on what we've seen, and we can only go on what we've seen so far, folks, is that Nico Reed is a stud. He is a big play machine, a lot better than you would ever expect from an undrafted free agent, and he's a smart player, so he should only get better. His potential is 100% on the upswing, and when we look back at this Chargers 2025 draft class, it may be this undrafted free agent that may be the biggest move the Chargers made, and that's saying something. It was a good draft already. What a find, Nico Reed to Los Angeles.